I want to quickly talk to you about a platform called Clearco. Of course, we are speaking about business funding. And the big question is, can you really trust Clearco this year to actually get you the funding that you really need? Okay. So let's quickly talk about that. So this will be a review of Clearco. And let me first define for you what Clearco really is. Okay. So Clearco actually is a business financing company that specializes in funding tech startups. So if you are a tech startup, you will love the kind of business model that Clearco has. Okay. Now, if you're not in that space, I think you can just go to another lending platform. Okay. So because they're not gonna have the kind of solutions, the kind of funding solutions that you really need if you're not a tech startup. So the company launched to service companies that don't want to give up equity in exchange for funding. Because a lot of tech startups or even non-tech startups, when they attract investors, if those investors want to have equity, right? So if you are a tech startup and you do not want to sacrifice your equity for funding, go to Clearco. And basically, Clearco is actually one of the world's largest e-commerce investors this year. Okay, so this is an important element. So one thing you need to understand here is that when a company gets funded through a venture capital firm, it sells a portion of its ownership, known as equity financing, right? So this is something that some tech startups or even non-tech startups in general don't want to do anymore. Okay. So Clearco used to be called ClearBank. I mean, a couple of years ago, they used to be called ClearBank. They went through a rebranding process around COVID. I mean, they took the time to really rethink their business model. And so they're no longer called ClearBank. Now it's Clearco. Okay. And so the cool thing is that ClearBank actually rebranded as Clearco because it wanted to be more than just a bank. Okay. Today, the company offers advice and resources for the young tech entrepreneurs. So if you go to Clearco, I want you to think about an all-in-one platform, not just funding, but also strategy, but also guidance, but also mentoring, all that kind of stuff. So I want to dig a little deeper here. If you think about Clearco, what kind of funding process can you really envision? So Clearco actually offers two financing products. So they have what they call Clear Capital, and they have Clear Runway. So Clear Capital and Clear Runway. So the company also provides a platform for business advice, access to investors, and additional tech startup resources. Everything depends on your setup. Everything depends on your needs. Everything depends on the kind of relationships you have actually cultivated so far. Okay. So when you register with a company and submit your business info, what it will do a couple of things. It will run a check to see which program is right for you, whether Clear Capital is right for you or Clear Runways is right for you. Okay, and they will determine also your funding capacity. Okay, so this is important. So let me talk about Clear Capital first. So Clear Capital is a form of debt financing that works similarly to a merchant cash advance. So anytime I talk about cash advance, I'm talking about revenue-based financing. So we're not talking about APR anymore. We're talking about a factor rate. So factor rate can be anywhere from 1.15 to 1.30, depending on the loan amount, but also depending on the profile of the company seeking a merchant cash advance. But the cool thing is that in revenue-based financing that you get through a Clearco, you can be funded real fast. So the turnaround, I've seen turnaround less than 24 hours. Okay. And you can borrow up to $20 million. Okay. And there is no set due date on when you as a borrower must pay the loan back in full. In addition to that, Clearco is not charging you early payment fees. Okay. So that's for Clear Capital. Next, you have Clear Runway. So Clear Runway provides invoice financing to SaaS companies in growth modes. So again, we are speaking about tech startups here, okay? And so whether you're speaking about invoice financing or merchant cash advance, we are speaking about revenue-based financing because Invoice financing just means that they're looking at your accounts receivable, they're looking at your invoices, and they're financing you based on those, okay? So this is important. So eligible industries here, Clearco is only available for several industries such as e-commerce, SaaS, so software as a service, online retailers, subscriptions companies, mobile apps with in-app purchases, okay? You also have marketplaces. So this is something to really think about. One thing I need to also tell you is that the cost of the loan actually that you get through a Clearco is heavily influenced by how you use the funds in the first place, okay? Because you have to understand, Clearco was created as an alternative to venture capital. So up until recently, venture capital was the most accessible source of funding for tech startups. And many startups reported that they ended up using most of their venture capital to cover a few considerable expenses. And most startups use venture capital to fund marketing campaigns, okay? And so if you think about it, this leaves the startup with little money to cover other vital expenses like labor and equipment. And God knows how much labor and equipment can be high if you are in a tech startup, right? So this is an important element. So one thing I want to say here is that basically, and since venture capital is a form of equity financing, the business leader loses a portion of ownership, okay? As a result, the business leader has fewer personal funds to reinvest in the business, okay? So Clearco strives to eliminate this problem by giving young businesses another way to cover this massive startup expenses. So this is an important element. Now, what do you need to apply if you want to apply at Clearco this year? What do you need to apply in the first place? Let's talk about the requirements. Let's talk about the paperwork that you need to really follow through, okay? So to apply for Clearco, you will need to supply your bank details, such as the account and routing number, right? Because they need to know where to take the money from and where to send the money to. Basic information about the business, like your EIN, your employer identification number. Basic information about all officers and directors. Articles of incorporation, state issued ID, okay? And also there are some other important factors. So Clearco is exclusively designed for just 6 types of companies. I gave you those types of companies before, okay? So just remember that. E-commerce, SaaS, online retailers, subscriptions companies, mobile apps with in-app purchases, and marketplaces, okay? So 6 types of companies. All other industries need not apply. So Clearco is perhaps the only business financing company with such a strict limitation on clientele, but this shows how confident Clearco is in the rise of these few industries, okay? So something to really think about. And another considerably restrictive requirement is actually the average revenue per month, at least $10,000, okay? $10,000. This is something to really, I mean, you might say that tech startups wouldn't have any problem, but hey, listen, 10,000 could be the standard for monthly revenue in most industries in the long run. So one thing you need to understand here is that basically, if you want to apply for a loan at Clearco, you got to be in business for at least 6 months. You got to be a legit business. You got to be incorporated as an LLC or S corporation or C corporation. Okay, they don't work with sole proprietorships, so that's totally normal. And this is a revenue-based financing program, which means that basically you got to show consistent revenue, right? So also, because their repayment structure is the same as a merchant cash advance, you have to understand that every time you make a sale, Clearco takes a percentage of it until the total amount is paid back in full. And so the loan has 2 percentages. First is the fixed percentage of future debit and credit card sales from the previous month. The second percentage is also fixed, but works more like a flat fee. This percentage can range from 6% to 12.5%. So something to really think about as you are planning your application at Clearco. Okay, and so this is an important element. So one thing I want to say here is that the percentage of each sale that Clearco takes is based on cash flow. So if you have a consistent cash flow, you can pay as little as 1% of each sale, while companies with rockier cash flow can pay up to 20%. So the second percentage, on the other hand, is based on entirely different criteria. So if you visit Clearco's website, you will see a list of popular marketing channels like Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Twitter, now called X. So companies that use Clearco funds to buy ads from this vendor list will automatically be given a flat fee of 6%. Clearco also offers inventory financing for e-commerce businesses that must make large upfront purchases. So something to really think about, but they're not really communicating too much about that. And if you use the funds for purchases for purposes aside from digital marketing or inventory, your flat fee could be as high as a 12.5%. So the minimum borrowing amount is $10,000, and payments are now reported to the personal or business credit bureaus. So whether you when you have timely payments, this is not going to affect your personal or business credit score. So think about that. And also, Clearco does not require collateral or a personal guarantee. This means that if your business defaults on the loan, Clearco cannot seize the business owner's personal assets to actually make up for the lost funds. So how do you apply with Clearco? So the full application process actually from start to finish usually takes 1 to 2 business days. Okay, it's a lengthy process, and for a reason. Okay, it's a lengthy process for a reason. First, you have to create an account, but just make sure that your industry is in the 6 top industries that I just mentioned to you, right? So you want to create an account on their website. So they'll ask you for basic information about your business and yourself, the business leader. Okay, and after entering this info, just click calculate now. And also you want to speak to a representative. So once you have created an account, somebody from Clearco's investment team will contact you within 1 to 2 business days. And but it doesn't mean that you are approved though. They just want to have a lengthier conversation to get to know you more. Okay, it just means that you have been cleared to complete the rest of the application. So these steps ensure that Clearco doesn't waste time filling applications from businesses that don't meet their general requirements. And also, do you have some review offers? So when you log back into your account, you can review loan offers if you are considered for further steps. Okay, you'll also see instructions about uploading documents and completing the rest of the application. You want to connect your sales and payments accounts. So you want to connect Clearco to the online accounts you use to make sales and payments. So PayPal, Square, Stripe. Okay. Now remember that Clearco is used entirely by online-based companies. So since these companies provide products and services online, all sales and payments are conducted via online accounts, right? There's no cash. So, and then you want to connect actually your digital marketing accounts. Okay, so Facebook, Google, Amazon, and your sales account. So it usually takes about 20 minutes to enter the data from all accounts. And you want to sign your loan documents. So you will receive a loan contract containing your borrowing amount, fixed fee, and repayment percentage. And funds should then appear in your bank account within 24 hours. So this is something that you have to really think about. So let's talk about post funding. So basically, once you're funded, Clearco actually operates the same way as a traditional merchant cash advance. Okay, repayments begin as soon as you make sales. So what happens here is that, like I said to you a little earlier, Clearco will deduct the percentage of your daily sales disclosed in your contract, and after you sign the contract, you can now adjust your fee or repayment percentage. Since there is no due date, you keep making payments until the total amount is paid off, regardless of how long it takes, okay? And even if you haven't paid off your loan in full, Clearco may allow you to apply for more funds if you meet the specific criteria, including your revenue has increased dramatically since you originally applied, right? Because they'll look at this is revenue-based financing. So if your revenue goes up, of course, they'll give you more opportunities. And if you have repaid at least 80% of your original amount, this could also be a good scenario for consideration of a new account, of a new loan, if you will. If you did not receive the maximum borrowing amount when you originally applied, or if your business has created a new source of income, right? Again, this is revenue-based financing, so they really pay attention to how your business is developing. Okay, so this is an important element to really pay attention to. So, what are the advantages of Clearco here? Well, as you can see, Clearco's products are geared towards a particular type of customer. So eligible businesses must belong to the above mentioned industries and earn an average of $10,000 in month revenue, right? $10,000. So basically, once your business fits that criterion, you're good to go. Okay. So if you are a young business and you may not qualify for a bank loan, basically, Clearco could be a good source of funding for you. Okay, and Clearco doesn't have a personal guarantee. They're not asking you for a personal guarantee, and also they're not checking your credit score. This is really good. They're not checking your credit score, so you can be funded as soon as possible. By the way, so that's really cool. That's really fantastic. And also, there is no pressure on your cash flow because Clearco is going to look at your revenue. So what are the disadvantages here if you think about Clearco? Well, if you don't belong to Clearco's target clientele, applying simply doesn't make sense. Okay, so if your industry is not in the top 6, they're not going to even look at your application. If you own an e-commerce business that's a few years old, you could probably access products more conducive to cash flow than a merchant cash advance. Older companies may have higher credit scores and or even want to use the funds for purposes other than digital marketing or inventory. So something to really think about. And also, one thing I want to say here is that if you can meet Clearco's monthly revenue threshold, your credit score or time in business might not stop you from accessing higher amounts and low rates. Okay, so compared to a Clearco, these options might contain more convenient repayment structures. You probably wouldn't have to use the funds for a specific purpose to access lower rates. So that's kind of important. So what are the pros and cons here? If you think about Clearco, the pros, you have a lender that provides equity-free capital to tech startups in those 6 aforementioned industries. There's a special focus on e-commerce and SaaS businesses. Borrowing amounts are on up to 20 million. Only requires 6 months in business and no credit check, and low advance fee of 6% to 12%, depending on how you use the funds in the first place. On the flip side, it's only available to 16 industries. You must be a corporation or LLC. Requires 10,000 in monthly revenue. Requires a daily repayment schedule. So this is something to really think about. So overall, if you think about this Clearco, basically this is a legit business. This is a legit platform. As long as you qualify, as long as you are in those 6 industries. Remember, e-commerce, SaaS, okay? SaaS, you're speaking about online retailers, subscription companies, mobile apps with in-app purchases, and marketplaces. So something to really think about. And also, one thing I want to say here is that it does take 1 to 2 days to get funded, okay? And Clearco, if for any reason you don't qualify, it's just better to try something else. So you can try business term loans, bad credit business loans, accounts receivable factoring, business lines of credit, working capital loans. So there are a lot of other business funding programs out there for non-tech startups or even non-tech businesses in the first place. So something to really think about. So as an epilogue into this conversation, I spoke to you about Clearco. I gave you an in-depth review of this platform. I explained also to you about their Clear Capital and Clear Runway programs, okay, and what you need to actually apply for Clearco, and also the pros and cons. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.